smell like cookies.
Ready, Andy? I'd like to call a public hearing to order to consider contributing 20% of the total costs up to a maximum of $500,000 to allow certain interior renovations at Gurney Mills in the space formerly occupied by the Sears department store. Interior renovations may include, but are not limited to, certain durable improvements necessary to prepare tenant space for a national arts and crafts retailer, as well as to create other tenant spaces. Roll call, please.
Thorstenson.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Garner.
Here.
O'Brien. Present. Thomas.
Present.
Hood.
Here.
6 present.
All right, I think I talked to all the trustees about this like a year and a half ago, and we thought we might have lost it in the pandemic, but it's back, so this is a good move. Pat's going to walk us through it.
Yeah, well, Ellen's going to walk us
Or
through it. So
Ellen.
like you said, been in the works for a while, so finally coming to fruition. So Ellen's got a quick presentation she's going to walk us through here with the proposed project and redevelopment agreement.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the board is very aware of the many renovations over the years that Gurney Mills has undertaken, some of which were with our partnership, some on their own, but they have renovated and modernized the center in ways that allow us to have the 2 million square foot shopping center that we're proud of today. Gurney Mills' diligent approach in this regards, Simon, the Mills, working with the village, leveraging local resources when necessary to accomplish it has enabled our mall to have low turnover. When vacancies do arise, I think we've all noticed how quickly they get filled. They don't sit around for too long. And they've really at the Mills, and particularly Gurney Mills, has enhanced its competitiveness within the Simon organization. I think when they go to Simon for capital expenditures, they know the village is a partner, and that makes a tremendous difference. They've also enhanced their reputation within the marketplace. So we have a reputation of being a strong mall, guaranteed within market constraints. Pretty much guaranteed solid returns when you come to Gurnee. So just a few recent examples I think are really worth highlighting. We know them, but it's fun to look back and see what a difference they've made. Certainly the $6 million common area renovation a couple of years ago, which really led, I think, directly, I think we can make that connection to the recruitment of Dick's and a few other tenants for whom that was a precondition of their signing a lease. The complex and technical build out of the Alpha Media radio stations, which we will have benefit from for years to come. Prior to that, the pad for the new Portillo's, which was done in record time and with a great partnership. And then, of course, most recently, the new top shelf ice arena and Beyond the Edge training facility, which not only preserves this really important amenity for our hockey families and our figure skating families, but is another way to bring visiting teams and tourists into our community. So these are all perfect examples of the way that Gurney Mills has been forward-thinking and nimble and reacting to the changing marketplace. So just real quickly, the latest project that we're talking about tonight, obviously, is one where we're starting to repurpose the former Sears space. In this era of changing retail, it's very rare for the new tenant to look exactly like the old tenant was. There aren't too many 200,000 square foot, tenants who can take that kind of space in this marketplace. So Gurney Mills has plans to break the big Sears, the 200,000 square feet down into 3 spaces. The first lease of that 3 spaces will be Hobby Lobby, taking the middle 55,000 square feet of that space. I think everyone's pretty familiar with Hobby Lobby, 900 locations nationwide, arts and crafts retailer. The proposed work that Gurney Mills and Hobby Lobby will be doing, I think our 20% contribution, which we'll talk about in a second, is modest compared to the amount of money that both Gurney Mills and Hobby Lobby are putting into this. From our perspective, our portion will be completely offset by sales tax revenues. And they're moving pretty quickly, or want to move pretty quickly. They'd like to start construction in May, and of course be open by the holidays. So it's a big space, but when you really get right down to it, the build out is, I think, once they're in the box space, pretty straightforward. The part that's not so straightforward is demising the space and relocating all the mechanicals, the fire system, the alarm system, the sprinklers, all those things that sort of serve one big space now have to be modified to serve 3 spaces. So that's where this gets a little bit complicated and why our participation is being sought. So just to go over the particular terms, I think you're pretty familiar with them, and a lot of them are mirror some of our previous agreements with Gurney Mills, but our agreement, of course, is with the landlord, Gurney Mills, versus the tenant. The Mills is asking us to participate at the 20% level toward the durable improvements, toward building out the Hobby Lobby space, which is the storefront, can include the storefront interior finishes, lighting, electric, HVAC, plumbing, fire alarm, life safety, including the sprinkler system, and then project development and finance fees that will go along with effectuating all these changes. The total project cost is estimated at $2.5 million, but consistent with prior Gurney Mills redevelopment agreements, our contribution is capped at 20%, hence the modest, our contribution is fairly modest compared to theirs when combined with the tenants, and would be proportionally reduced if, for some reason, the construction costs come in at less than the $2.5 million. So our maximum is $500,000 or 20%. On an annual basis, the maximum that we'd be asked to reimburse annually would be $100,000, unless for some reason, just due to timing of expenses, one year was a little bit less than $100,000 and we had to make up for it the next year, but the total is still the 500. So it could be a timing issue, but that's it. The agreement term would start this fiscal year, so the first payment would be due by April 30th of 2022 and run over 5 village fiscal years, which aligns very nicely with the work that they wish to do. So we'll be looking forward to a new anchor in that space, and of course, once the white box finish is accomplished on those remaining 2 spaces, it just makes it all that much easier for Gurney Mills to go ahead and attract those remaining 2 tenants. So we think that this completely makes sense for that south end of the mall. I think that we'll probably see Randy Ratowski here at the regular meeting at 7 o'clock, so I'll do my best to answer any questions. Randy's obviously the expert and deserves credit for a lot of the good work that's been done. Randy, working with the Simon Anchor Box team, really is outstanding, as we've seen over and over again. But with that, this item is ready for your consideration, and we'll answer any questions.
Trustee Thorstensen?
So one thing, Ellen, I'm wondering is, from your exposure to the inventory of other businesses, how does that fracturing leave the possibilities of us to pick up the other 2 ends?
I think it improves it, honestly. Great question, but I think it improves it. They chose, there may have been other reasons, but one reason that they chose the middle sliver of the building was because they're repurposing one of the Sears entrances, the existing Sears entrance. The spaces that are left are still quite large, obviously. So honestly, I guess I'm pleased that we're only dividing it into 3. It could have been, even further subdivided. And maybe it ultimately will. Who knows? I guess it's a matter of responding to the marketplace. But right now, the Simon Anchor leasing team must feel confident that they can fill those 2 remaining boxes with larger retailers.
And Hobby Lobby didn't want a mall entrance. So.
Correct.
I was just at Hobby Lobby 2 weeks ago, so I'm a big fan. But I was really looking at our ability to reuse those other 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the smaller footprint with a mall entrance is more doable than a bigger box. And the other end has the automotive, so that opens up some possibilities too.
Yeah, I agree. It should really, I think they're pretty bullish on the remaining 2 spaces. In fact, they've had a couple of prospects looking at them already, so.
Trustee O'Brien?
I didn't see which fund this is coming from and if the funds are available, or at least there.
Alongside the budget, we have a line item in the contingency fund that had previously held the rebate towards the redo of the section between Florida and Dix. That was satisfied this current fiscal year that we're in. We reduced that by that amount, and then this agreement has been in the works for a while. We were waiting for the mills to wrap up things on their end, so we plugged in that $100,000 into that line item. So it went down by 250, put 100 back in it. So it is included in next year's budget that's approved.
Thanks.
It's coming out of sales tax, basically.
Okay.
Trustee Garner?
And I didn't hear you speak to the annual return on investment and when we think that would begin for the village.
Well, they haven't shared local figures with us, but on a national basis, and typically Gurnee stores do a little bit, often better than the national average. The national average would be about a $6 million store which would translate into $120,000 per year of the sales tax, state and home rule for us. So we feel pretty confident that that $100,000 number that we'll be asked to disperse on an annual basis will be more than offset by sales tax
About 5 years,
In 5 years.
over 5 years.
maybe 4.5. It still isn't bad.
Yeah. Something's better than nothing.
It's a different use, which I think will attract a lot of foot traffic, and it seems to be designed as kind of a little bigger than what we're used to with the Hobby Lobbies. This will be kind of a step up as far as the amount of inventory and type of inventory. It's almost like a regional store. So
Well, and there are only really 2 locations, I think that I've shared this with the board, but for the purpose of the public, really only 2 locations that are proximate to Gurnee, Kenosha and Round Lake Beach would be the 2 closest. And the Vernon Hills store has closed last year. They closed the Vernon Hills store and relocated it to Norwich. So with all that known, I guess I would just say I think regional demand is probably a given. People will travel to a Hobby Lobby, which just brings traffic that we might or might not have picked up otherwise.
all right, do I have a recommendation do I have a motion to recommend this to the to our governing meeting at 7 o'clock?
I recommend that we move this forward.
Motion by trustee O'Brien, second by trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please, Andy.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
All right, the recommendation motion carries, and I will close out this public hearing. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Garner,
Second?
second by trustee Thorstensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to call a public hearing pursuant to the Cable Communications Policy Act of 1984 on the contemplated renewal of Comcast of Illinois 12 LLC's cable television franchise within the Village of Gurnee. Roll call, please, Andy.
Thorstensen.
Here.
Ross. Garner.
Here.
O'Brien.
Present.
Balmas.
Present.
Hood.
Here.
6 present.
All right, this is a public hearing, so I will open the floor to public comment when the presentation is done, but you'll need to be sworn in by our village attorney. So Jack, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Village Board. So I'll walk through a brief overview of the franchise agreement, kind of why we're here, go through a few of the steps, and then if there's questions at the end or public hearing comments, I'll be glad to answer any questions. So just a little bit about why we're here today. We have a 10-year cable franchise agreement with Comcast is what we're presenting. Our current franchise agreement has expired. It's still ongoing until we approve a new one, but we're ready to approve a new one. What we have before you today is very minimal changes, just cleanup at this point, and I'll kind of walk through a few of the benefits of it, a little bit about what it is, and then answer questions. So what it does is allows Comcast to use village right-of-way with basically minimal permitting, standard permitting requirements, and minimal interference from the village. Some of the benefits we get from having a Comcast franchise agreement is a public access channel, our Waukegan Channel 17, new connections at no cost. So essentially, if a resident's within 125 feet of existing cable, they can get cable TV provided them at no additional cost for installation. And then we do get 5% franchise fee to administer the agreement. So that is a big part of it. The agreement's ready for consideration at the village board meeting. A little bit about kind of what this is, why we do it, why we're here. So 1994, the federal government passed the Federal Cable Communications Policy. Basically, it sets the controls, the limitations, limits on fees, and how franchise agreements are renewed. Further, so there's federal and then the state level, ILCS 522-501. This is essentially what sets the customer service obligations. So residents that have issues with Comcast, concerns over how Comcast manages different things, fees, those aren't able to be controlled at the local level. Reason being is essentially it would be chaos if every community had a different set of laws, different rules for the cable franchises. And then at the local level, so in 2010, the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus got together because for the exact reason I mentioned, there were so many different franchise agreements around the state. They sat down with a group of mayors, administrators, Comcast, And what they did is they developed a uniform agreement for all Chicago to use. The understanding is they drafted it, they spent a long time on it, tried to get as much feedback as possible from municipalities, and the idea is that what came out of it would be sort of the agreement that all municipalities would follow unless they had a really strong reason and a really strong legal defense as to why not. So with that in mind, we have had 3 past franchise agreements, 1990, 2005, 2011 is the most recent one. And 2011 was the first one that used the basic framework and template. A little bit just quick about what this is. So minimal change from the 2011 agreement, cleaned up some of the language in the agreement. Essentially, Comcast increased their bond and liability coverage, which is a win for us in case there's any issues. Modernize some of the indemnification, allows for greater flexibility for both parties in responding to contract conflicts. If there's any issues, a little bit more flexibility. And then it did set it as a 10-year agreement, so it's going to be 2031 until this is heard again. The biggest noteworthy changes I called out in my memo is something that is a response to a federal order. So essentially, the FCC in 2019 issued Order 621. Long story short, they already had a cap of 5% of fees for any franchise. So for any cable franchise nationally, the most a municipality could put a fee on was 5%. This also means that anything that was above that, any freebies, you could call it, any other considerations of the contract, had to come from the fees. So it couldn't be both. You could choose one or the other, essentially. With that, in our current contracts and most contracts that Comcast has throughout the state, including the 2010 template, it does state that we get free connection to government buildings, school buildings, and so for us, it does include the township, the village, the park district, and then every school district. We all do, under this franchise, get free cable. So essentially, every building can get 1 free cable connection and then 3 boxes. This new agreement makes that so that they don't have to offer that anymore, and we can't ask for it in the contract. Frank is here from Comcast, and they have indicated there's no indication that they're going to remove that in 2021, but at some point during this agreement, it will be going away. So we have to determine at that point is either if we absorb that cost for the other partners to have cable, or if we would essentially send them notice that they're going to start paying once that is gone. So that's a big thing. That is a change. Unfortunately, there's really no pushback. It's at a federal level decision. So that'll be moving forward. Other than that, I think the agreement kind of stands for itself. Pretty minimal changes. One thing I mentioned in the memo, we tracked other municipalities to see kind of what changes anyone was getting from the agreement. There really isn't much. Essentially what the agreement is pretty much what's out there. So it's a strong agreement. It's well analyzed through many municipalities. So it's just here before you as a public hearing by law.
It seems like this has become more of a basic utility like electricity or gas versus when cable was new, where you really were negotiating it as a benefit or an amenity for the community. Now it's almost an expectation. Okay, welcome, Frank. I forgot to acknowledge you. It's good to see you. Questions from the trustees? I would say in today's world, we probably depend on our Wi-Fi and cable more than anything. Really can't live without it anymore. All right, if I have no comments or questions, I can open it up to the floor. If the public wants to make any comments about the cable franchise, I see no public, so. All right, do I have a recommendation from the trustees? A motion to recommend? Motion by trustee Garner.
Second.
Second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please, Andy.
Torstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner. O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
All right. Motion carries to recommend this at our regular business meeting at 7 o'clock, so I can adjourn the public hearing. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
trustee Garner, second by trustee O'Brien. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. I'd like to call the Gurnee Village Board regular meeting of April 19th, 2021 to order. Roll call, please, Andy.
Torstenson.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Garner.
Here.
O'Brien.
Present.
Thomas.
Present.
Hood.
Here.
6 present.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, it's nice to have company tonight. First up on our agenda is approval of the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please, Andy.
Torstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
Motion carries. Patrick, please read the consent agenda into the record.
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the April 12, 2021 meeting. Item number 2, approval of ordinance 2021-27, authorizing a 2-year contract with the Leggio Energy LLC for provisions of 100% renewable electricity for the Village of Gurnee's electrical aggregation program under a ComEd price match program. Item number 3, approval of payroll for period ending April 9, 2021 in the amount of $814,628.90. Item number 4, approval of bills for period ending April 19, 2021 in the amount of $177,904.94.
Thank you, Patrick. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read into the record?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Garner, second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please.
Torstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
Motion carries. Patrick, what was the ordinance number for number 2? 27. All right, we will move on to petitions and communications. It's a very wonderful night for us when we get to recognize officers that have done such a fabulous job for this community. So we're going to have Chief Smith present the police awards for the calendar year 2020. There he is. It's good to see you.
Madam Mayor, Mayor-elect Hood, trustees, Mr. Mutes, thank you again for having us tonight to show some appreciation and some thanks to our officers that were related in traffic safety efforts for the year of 2020. We're joined by some representatives from AIM, so we'll call them down in a second. And we're also joined by our village prosecutor for the police department, Mr. Louis Albaran, who's in the back there. Together as a team, we do a really good job of making sure that traffic safety is at the forefront of our involvement with the community. I think last year we saw challenges like our profession has never experienced before related to COVID and then what followed in the summer. But you know, I stand here in front of you today humbled and thankful for the support that the village shows us on a daily basis, the support that the community gives our police department. We are blessed. Sometimes, you know, it may feel like that is forgotten when you look at the national narrative, but certainly here in Gurnee, the love and the support that we feel daily, weekly, monthly, throughout the entire year isn't something that is taken lightly. It is something that's been earned over several years of doing things the right way and getting out in the community and expressing our appreciation, building those relationships. And again, some of this goes back to the importance of traffic safety. So before we start to call the officers down, I just want to share a couple of stories. Obviously with COVID, when we went into our COVID protocols in March of 2020, traffic safety was not at the forefront of policing and our response to the community. Actually, we had asked our officers to make sure that it wasn't a priority as we were trying to reduce contact with people, protect our staff, protect the community. And so they were asked not to go out and be as proactive with traffic safety as we would normally ask our officers to be each year. But one of the things that became pretty clear, I think, and evident pretty quickly was a lot of the travelers through the community and through Lake County and probably throughout the country recognized pretty early that police were not making traffic a priority. And so it didn't take long before we started to have our first 40 and 50 mile an hour over 40 and 50 miles per hour over speeding citations issued on Grand Avenue, Washington, 41 at all times during the day. And what was perhaps most interesting about some of those stops, I recall back to a stop, I think it was 96 mile an hour on Grand Avenue at about 9:15 in the morning, was the response that the person had to the officer who stopped him. And that was, "I thought you guys weren't out here doing this stuff." And so it didn't, again, that was just a couple of weeks into COVID. And so that's really what can happen when a department doesn't make traffic safety a priority. And so on behalf of the leadership of the Gurnee Police Department, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of the officers from the Gurnee Police Department as we congratulate these officers here tonight on Traffic Safety Awards for 2020. So thank you all. AIM, you guys want to come on up and join me, please? All right, I'm going to hand out the awards, and then I know that you both have something you'd like to say at the end. All right, so not being able to join us tonight for his 12th time recipient of the DUI award is Officer J.R. Naseda. Officer Tom Brannick, come on up. Officer Tom Brannick is getting an award for his DUI pin for his 10th arrest. And we'll call everybody back up at the end for a picture. Yeah, thank you, Tom. Officer Austin Dembski. Austin is also receiving an award for his 10th DUI pin. Thank you, Austin. Officer Daniel Morehouse. Officer Morehouse is also receiving an award for his 10th DUI pin. Thank you, Dan. Officer Tim Hammond. Officer Hammond is receiving an award for his 50th DUI pin. And I should mention, I don't know the exact figure offhand, but Officer Naseda is not able to join us. This is his 12th year in award that 12th year in a row that he would be receiving his award, and I believe he's somewhere around 400 or 500 DUIs. All right, next up is our Traffic Enforcement Awards, and for these officers, they're in the top 10% of our department in speeding and seatbelt violations. Officer Marcion Buter. Thank you, Marcion. Officer Austin Dembski. Thank you again, Austin. And Officer Antoine Smith. Just wanted to mention very quickly, one of the unique things about Antoine receiving an award is this was his first year with our department. And so that's a little bit unique that he would be receiving an award for traffic safety in his first year here. So nice job, Antoine. So again, on behalf of the Deputy Chief Jesse Gonzalez, myself, and everybody else at the police department, thank you guys for your continued service to the community. We're very fortunate here that we have officers who service is still the primary responsibility as to why they come to work. And again, we're blessed, and so thank you all.
Hi, my name is Lisa, and I'm the director of the court monitoring program with AIM. So I fortunately get to see all of the villages over throughout Illinois. So this is something that is dear to my heart because in 2015 I lost my significant other to impaired motorists. With that being said, I can't help but feel like for every time you guys pull somebody over for a DUI, for speeding, for impaired driving, for cell phone, for any of that, that you're saving a life ultimately, if not multiple. Because not only are you saving the victims, you're saving the people behind the wheel. You know, you're in a thankless job right now that is tough from all different sides. But I can tell you that the village of Gurnee should be extremely proud of the leadership and the prosecution that you have in place. Because I get to see every village and what happens, I can tell you that you have invested people here throughout, and thank you so much. This chief is one of the only ones that invites us to come and recognize the police department. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Stewart, and I am one of the prevention education specialists with AIM. So my work is a little bit on the, I guess you'll say the before side, for lack of better words. So we aim to educate our youth and our public about traffic safety so that they don't get behind the wheel drunk or impaired or texting or just participating in reckless driving. And while we've seen a lot of the traffic numbers on the road go down in terms of vehicles on the road, the amount of DUIs and crashes and fatalities is at an all-time high in comparison for percentages. So just because we don't see that many cars on the road doesn't mean that this is not still an issue, and it's actually become more of an issue. So we are so honored that these officers work day in and day out to take these reckless drivers off the road. We are just so honored for their hard work and just that they partner with us and they work with us to promote safe roadways, and they deserve all the credit in the world because it really is a thankless job. So from all of us at AIM, thank you for having us out here, and thank you so much, all of you officers, for all of your hard work. We are incredibly proud of you.
Thank you, Mayor and Board, for giving us some time tonight. If we could just take a few more minutes for a group picture, I appreciate it. Thank you. Louis, join us. Thank you again.
Before you run off, On behalf of myself and the village board, and this is my last business meeting, so I get to reminisce, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. When I first became mayor, I used to think that the work that you're doing is protecting my children, and I know you're protecting all the children. I had teenage drivers, but I have always taken great personal pride in how aggressive our police department enforces drunk driving. I've bragged many times in private that if you drive drunk, Gurney's going to nail you. And because of our wonderful village prosecutor, Louis Albaran, we are going to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. Don't do it here. And I am so proud of that, and thank you guys so much for all the lives you saved from all of these traffic stops and the DUIs and the prosecution. I love having that reputation that we're tough on drunk driving. Thank you. You got that right.
Do it next year.
Oh. It's going to be harder than I thought. Let me get organized. All right, we have item number 2 is an approval of a proclamation designating April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day in the Village of Gurnee. It will be on April 30th, 2021, and I think we all know the story of J. Sterling Morton, so I will not read it into the record this year, but do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by trustee O'Brien, second by trustee Thorstensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And I think we had Home Depot reached out to us about helping with Arbor Day festivities. Okay. Motion carries. And then just a reminder that our next Monday meeting, April 26th, is a committee of the whole, and it will be held at our fire station number 3, which is on Manchester Drive, and we're going to start at 6 p.m.
Yep.
Okay. All right, then we're going to move on to reports. And we have an update from our finance director, Brian Gosnell.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The report in the packet, the material here is as of March 31st, so through the end of March. Duration still in phase 4. They did release a bridge phase that had some vaccination and hospitalization metrics in there. I think we've finally met the vaccination metrics, but not the hospitalizations yet, so still in phase 4. Big 3 status, Six Flags, opening April 24th. Gurney Mills, Great Wolf, both open. Safety protocols and capacity limits still. Looking at general fund revenues in total. Through the end of March last year, collected just over $41 million. Through the end of March this year, just under $33 million. Leaves us a variance of almost $8.1 million down, or about 20% here. We originally projected this to be, general fund revenues to be down about $10 million or 25%. We've seen some bright spots, and I'll get into those. But the current projection, at least as of this morning, is $7.4 million, or about 17%, and it's made up almost entirely of the Big 4. So, when we talk about Big 4 here, again, projection at $7.4 million. That's where we're currently at through March, versus same time frame last year. We expect it to end there. Sales tax makes up $2.4 million of that, and we'll get into each one of these individually. Amusement tax, $3 million. Hotel tax, $1.3, and then food and beverage, $685,000. Looking at sales tax here, projected to end the year, and actually we know all the receipts for sales tax, so this is where it will end the year. To be down just over $2.4 million. And if you look at the latest month, receipts for in the month of April, for the sales month of January, receipts were up 7.8%. So as you can see from the chart, that's the first positive year-over-year month since the beginning of the fiscal year. So hopefully that means we've come full circle and we can start seeing some positives from here on out. Amusement tax projected to finish the year just over $3 million, about 81%. Still have a fairly conservative estimate here about April receipts. Obviously, we don't have the full month in yet, but projecting 80% down, that's probably a little conservative, but this is probably the biggest unknown when it comes to the consumer coming back to the market. So this will be one that is probably, we'll have to keep it the closest eye on, and may have the most unpredictability. Hotel tax projected to finish the year 1.26 million, down about 67%. And happy to announce, I have 125,000 projected for April. We're already at 120. So I think 125,000 is definitely obtainable, and Great Wolf had a great month. I think it was their third best since they opened, so it was definitely a positive sign. Food and beverage side, 684,000 down here projected on the year. Again, projecting April to come in 25% down, puts us in total about 34% down on the year here. Moving to the expenditure side, we're currently 2.86 billion ahead. It's about 7.7%. Again, we project this to end the year about 10% under budget, so savings of 10% here. Obviously, the majority of that comes from personnel. It's where the majority of our expenditures are. It's where we have the greatest flexibility to make adjustments. Looking at the general fund balance, I started this chart for the first time at the last update, and it just walks us through kind of the iterations here of how we got to where we're at. Revised budget after our first budget amendment. We budgeted just over $1 million surplus. In the beginning of the year, we estimated we'd use about $5 million of fund balance. When we got to the budget cycle, so around December timeframe, that estimate had come down to about 2.9 million. And as of, again, today, looking at the numbers again this morning, looks like we're going to be right at that 2 million mark. It's also important to note that next year we have budgeted 922,000 use of reserves. So right at 3 million over 2 years with the current projections. Again, saw some really good movement in amusement tax, obviously, hotel tax, food and beverage, sales tax, first positive since the beginning of the year. Hopefully that keeps up. A lot of questions about the, I guess, most recent stimulus for municipalities. Not a whole lot has changed. There was some guidance that came out on the 15th. The Treasury guidance directly to the initial recipients, just letting them know that they have to be in the federal system and have a DUNS number and everything like that. That's not direction for us. We will be receiving it from the state, not directly from the Treasury. So they haven't, I guess the guidance hasn't trickled down to our level yet, but the good news is the guidance is coming out. There has been almost no change in the initial amount. If you remember, the Gurnee estimate was 3.75 million in 2 tranches. One should come, assuming the I guess, most conservative timeline, September. And then a year after that, could come up to 4 months before that, but depending on what the state does when they get the money. But the good news is 375 hasn't changed, and so it looks like we will get something in the area of at least that amount in two separate batches. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on the update.
Trustee O'Brien?
I just had one question in regards to amusement tax. How much of the amusement tax is with season passes? Because aren't season passes going to be rolling forward? The 2020 pass is going to be good for 2021?
Yeah, so my understanding is that'll happen at the end of this operating season, is where we would see the season pass money, or the season pass amusement tax come in. Obviously, people had months roll over into the new year, so I can't imagine that visitors, would be, I guess, right away renewing their season passes, or wait till later in the year. But again, that's when I talk about the unknowns of amusement tax, that's one of the timing is one of them, how the consumers are going to respond, what kind of promotional items will be happening, things like that, so.
Thank you.
Other questions from the trustees? All right, All right. All right, if there's no other questions, then I'm going to move on. Thank you, Brian. All right, we'll move on. Old business, do we have any?
No.
Okay. And I'm going to move on to new business. The first is approval of ordinance 2021-28, approving a redevelopment agreement between the Village of Gurnee and the mall at Gurney Mills LLC to renovate space formerly occupied by the Sears department store. This was the subject of our public hearing earlier. And we do have Randy Ebertowski with us now. All right, Pat, you want to go over it one more
Yeah, I
time?
can give you a quick overview here. As the mayor said, this was a topic of our public hearing earlier. The Sears space at Gurney Mills has been vacant since 2018. The Mills has been working on a plan to get that space filled. This involves dividing the space into 3 separate tenant spaces. Given the retail market, it's hard to find one tenant to take that whole space. The first tenant that is looking to move in and fill the middle space is Hobby Lobby. The investment is estimated about $2.5 million to get that space ready for them. The Mills has reached out to the village to assist with that, as is consistent with our past agreements with Gurney Mills. This agreement is 20% of the total investment, not to exceed a maximum of $500,000 from the village. This would be paid annually, not to exceed $100,000. Looking at what a typical Hobby Lobby store does, they should do over $100,000 in sales tax for us. So really, this should be a wash. They're looking to get going here as soon as possible, with construction starting as early as May, hoping to be done before the holiday shopping season. So the agreement that's before you is an agreement we've used in the past, tweaked it for Hobby Lobby. The funding has been included in the approved budget.
Okay, any questions? Randy, would you like to say a few words since you're here? The mall looks good. There's a lot of hustle and bustle out there.
Yes, thank you. Things are going well. First, I want to, while I have this opportunity, just reflect on 2020. It was an unprecedented year, and we made it. We're out of it, and it's behind us now, and traffic and sales are booming, and we're excited about that. And but we could have not made it through that without the support from the village. So thank you all for all the staff at the village had a part in that. And again, we thank you. It means a lot to Simon and to me and to Gurney Mills and our team. And Mayor, well-deserved retirement, so all the best to you and your family. And thank you for all your support and all you've done for the community.
Thank you. We were a good team.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. And we're looking forward to working with Mr. Hood and the rest of the trustees, so thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for me on the proposed redevelopment? This is, breaking it into 3 parcels is really the way to go. It's tough to find. That's 200,000 square feet is just a huge building. So breaking it into 3, we've already got 1 filled, and we have some leads on filling the other 2 as well. Big picture, again, COVID in 2020 was a crazy year, but we are very optimistic about our leasing activity and the new tenants that are coming in, the activity, the interest. There is pent-up energy with retailers wanting to come to Gurney Mills and sign new leases. So as you walk the mall now, you'll see a lot of spaces already active with new construction or new activity, and we're expecting that's going to continue through the year. And my goal is to be close to 100% by the end of the year occupied. That's my goal. So we'll see if we can hit that mark.
That's a good goal. Good. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agreement, or do
I
you have
was just going to say one thing to Randy is that,
Go ahead.
so my goal is to spend all my tax dollars in Gurney, and I was just at Hobby Lobby 2 weeks ago, so thank you for bringing that, as well as your efforts to fill the other spaces.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the redevelopment agreement?
Second.
Motion by trustee Ross, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please, Andy.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
All right, motion carries. This is going to be huge for that spot. It's a really good move for the Mills and for us. All right, motion carries. So item number 2, approval of ordinance 2021-29, renewing a cable television franchise to Comcast of Illinois X22 LLC. Again, this was a subject of a public hearing that we recommended for our board meeting. Any questions, follow-up? Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please, Andy.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner. O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
All right, motion carries, frankly, okay. All right. Item number 3, approval of ordinance 2021-30, adding one Class 2 liquor license by amending Section 6-56 of Article 2 of Chapter 6 of the Gurnee Municipal Code entitled Alcoholic Beverages. This is for Cracker Barrel Old Country Store at 5706 North Ridge Drive.
Sure. So Cracker Barrel's applied for a Class 2 that allows the sale of alcoholic liquor for consumption on premise where sold, and the retail sale of alcoholic liquor in the original package, not for consumption on premise. We have 3 Class 2s out there right now. When I saw this come in, I Googled it quick, and I had found online that in September 2020, it was reported that for the first time in 51 years, the family-friendly chain will be serving beer, wine, and orange and strawberry mimosas at 600 of its 660 stores in the U.S. by July 2021. So we're one of those 600 that they're looking to start serving alcohol. Police department conducted all the necessary background checks and finds nothing to preclude issuing the license, so it's before you tonight for consideration.
All right, any questions?
Make a motion.
Motion by
Second.
trustee Garner, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
All right, motion carries, which jogs my memory. Do we still have the temporary ordinances in place for alcohol to go?
Yeah, that's still in place,
Yeah,
yes.
So we may want to start thinking about that now with the
Well, in
restaurants
fact,
open.
the state legislature just passed an ordinance to allow for that to be on a more permanent basis. It doesn't take effect until January 1. We'll keep everybody advised about that.
So they're overriding home rule authority.
The legislation does do that. So,
Well, you know what I would have done, but it's up to you. The whole idea of driving around with more alcohol bothers me, but, all right, not my circus. Okay, so, motion carries. So item number 4, approval of resolution 2021-05,
05.
authorizing the village to continue participation in the Lake County Regional 911 Consortium to secure pricing for public safety software systems.
Sure. So we have been a leading agency in this effort for the past couple of years. Police Department, Fire Department, Information Systems Division of all, and Communications Division of all, spent an immense amount of time on this, working with the county and the other 21 partner agencies as they look at opportunities to consolidate dispatch centers and then standardize some software. So the part of that process was to go out for an RFP for public safety software. The county went out for the RFP, brought in responses, evaluated those, has it narrowed down to one preferred vendor. They're getting ready to start negotiations as far as the software packages and what will be offered. Obviously, they need to know how many people are interested in this as they work through the vendor to secure the pricing. The more that are interested, the economies of scale we can take advantage of. So they were looking for some sort of commitment from the partner agencies, whether that be a letter or a non-binding resolution. They provided us some language that they were looking for, worked with staff and Attorney Winter, and included that in the resolution that's before you. Doesn't obligate us to spend any money. We're not married to the county as far as the software purchase, but our CAD is ending near of life, so this is a really good opportunity and really good timing on our part. Also, as I said, to standardize software across the county as it relates to communicating with other agencies and streamlining processes will be a win as well. So this resolution allows us to continue participation as they go through the process to secure the pricing. Obviously, before any money is spent, that'll come back before the village board for discussion and consideration. So this is the the level of commitment that the county is looking for, that gives them some confidence that we are going to continue to move forward, and then they will obviously, what we will need in the way of software, that'll be factored into the negotiation talks with the preferred vendor.
All right, questions for Pat?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please.
Torstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6-0.
All right, motion carries, or resolution carries. All right, item number 5, approval of resolution 2021-06, endorsing the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus Greenest Region Compact 2.
Yeah, I'll walk you through this quick.
Okay.
So we actually supported the Greenest Region Compact back in February of 2008 with the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. Worked at that time and continued to work on instituting green efforts in our operations as was financially feasible and applicable based on operations. With the resurgence of the focus on environmental stewardship in the Village of Gurnee with the Environmental Sustainability Committee, that committee was looking for some frameworks, some areas that they could focus on, and actually stumbled upon the Mayor's Caucus. The Mayor's Caucus, back in March 2016, updated the original pledge to the Greenest Region Compact 2. 135 communities across the state involved in this, represent more than 6 million residents. Lake, Kane, McHenry counties have also adopted the goals. So the Mayor's Caucus provides some high-level goals that then we can take and tailor to our community. So it was before the Environmental Sustainability Committee. They reviewed it. They're forwarding a 3-0 recommendation that the village board support this effort, and then they'll be able to take the framework, kind of pick and choose what works for the village of Gurnee and take it from there. So Mayor-elect Hood sits on that committee. Jack's the staff liaison. They've both reviewed it, and they're in support of this as well.
Questions? Trustee Hood, or Mayor-elect Hood?
It really was fortuitous that we came across this because we, as the committee is just starting out from an environmental perspective, the compact provides just a wealth of information. They made a presentation to our committee through Zoom, and it's just really encouraging. It provides, we won't do everything that they recommend or suggest, but it provides us a lot of ideas and resources. They even tap into some grants that we would have available to us potentially for, from litigation and other settlements that we'd be able to tap into their expertise. So I'm looking forward to seeing that relationship blossom and the state of Illinois provide us some benefit.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by trustee Ross, second by trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please.
Torstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6-0.
All right, motion carries. The Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus has been one of my most valuable resources and best use of my time on so many issues with Dave Bennett, their executive director. Just incredible the amount of resources that they put together for us as a region and that you can use. I always enjoyed those meetings, but once they moved them downtown, it was kind of hard to get to. But there's a lot of things. This is one of those groups that's well worth being involved in. This has been very good for us.
I agree.
Okay, and it's good timing for your committee. All right, so that motion carries. Item number 6, approval of the Public Works Utility Division request to purchase 3,000 LTE Orion endpoints from Midwest Meter at a cost of $337,500.
Sure. So I'm going to give you a really quick couple sentences here, and then Heather's going to get into a little bit more detail to refresh your memory. So back in July 2019, we had the utility division was before the village board to talk about a phased plan to address the village's water metering and then our future billing needs. So the first phase was integration of the new reading software into our financial system. So we upgraded our financial software, then work to get the reading software integrated with that. That has been accomplished. This next phase is the equipment that transmits the water meter readings to our village facilities to get that in place. So that's what these 3,000 Orion endpoints are. Heather's going to give some more information about how we got to today and what we're looking to do.
Thanks, Pat, Village Board and Mayor. So these devices are the ones that are mounted to the exterior of the building. They're a couple inches cylinder, a couple inches in length, maybe about that. They mount to the outside of the building and they transmit the data to wherever you need it to be transmitted to. So right now, the process that we use is a meter van drives by half the village once per month and collects data from the previous 60 days. So you know what happened 60 days ago once every 2 months. So the point of moving forward, not only to get better technology and better battery life on what's being mounted on the side to transmit meter data, is also to be more flexible with the data that it can collect and how often it can transmit that data. So the newer Orions transmit data in 15-minute increments, so you will be able to set parameters to let you know whether or not you have a leak, or if you're a snowbird and someone or the water is being used at your home, you could set a 0 tolerance, and then if there's any usage, you would know that you either had a leak or somebody swung by your house while you were gone. So we're very excited to kind of bring this before you all for approval today. Some of the options with these Orions included different types. So there was a fixed network type and a cellular type. Now the fixed network type would use antennas and radios to transmit data, whereas the cellular uses existing cellular network to transmit data, all of which goes to the cloud. But we did find in our analysis, working with both IS and finance, that the additional benefits of cellular Orions translated better to our future needs. For example, there's no startup costs for infrastructure to utilize cell, only the purchase of the Orions themselves. It's a more resilient network because the cell networks are the first ones back up in operation after a big storm or some sort of catastrophic event. It provides flexibility for the future with smart technology because newer meters can read pressure differential or pressure loss. They can read temperature changes, they can read water quality information, and these cellular Orions can transmit that data, whereas the fixed network Orions could not. So this helps keep it more flexible depending on what we choose down the road for our future meters. The other thing to keep in mind is that this allows people to be able to manage their own water usage 24/7 from literally the palm of their hand. If you have a smartphone device, you can use the Eye on Water app, like keeping your eye on your water usage. You can use this app as a free service. As long as we use cellular Orions, it's a free service. And you can set those parameters to text you, email you, or you could just go on your phone and look it up on your own. With most cloud-based solutions, there's a hosting fee. This fee is nominal, and it's currently less than $1 per month per account. The vendor has offered to pay those hosting fees by giving us credits, and those will last through about year 3 of the program. So this gives us plenty of time to plan for those fees. The 10-year program cost was estimated for a fixed network at $1.74 million, whereas the cellular was $1.85. So the cellular is an additional $110,000, but we feel the flexibility and the additional data puts us in a good place for the future, and we recommend that option. As I mentioned, the new technology has longer battery life, so that when an Orion battery goes dead, you can't just swap it out like D batteries or whatever. You have to actually swap out the entire device. So the longer it lasts, the better it is for us. These last 20 years, our current ones were warranted, I think, for 10, and we're pushing 15 on some of them. And we're noticing some of that failure in our current reads when we go around and we get tampers resulting back. So we have to go out again and try and drive past them and see if now we can connect. One of the examples of a benefit of using these devices is that it reduces staff time and gives residents information sooner. So right now, say a customer gets a very large bill because there's a leaky toilet or something inside of their home. They find out maybe 40, 45, 60 days after it started, and the bill is incredibly high. So the customer calls the billing department, who makes an appointment for public works staff, who goes out and drives the meter van, who downloads the data when they get there, who comes back to the office and filters through the data, creating a more reasonable format for it to be legible, and then it's transmitted back to the billing department so that they can call the resident and talk to them about it. Seems like a very labor-intensive process, whereas with the new technology, the data is available to them and to us instantaneously online through data profiles. Are just automatically available, and you can answer their question when they call. Some other key points worth noting, obviously customers get alerted sooner. They can set up their own level of notification. They don't have to wait so long before knowing how their water consumption is affecting their bill. If you only have $150 to spend on your water bill, you know when you're getting close if you're living within very tight means at this point of time. Meter data is obviously critical to our business because we purchase water from Jawa, so accounting for every drop of water is very important to us since we're kind of the middleman in collecting the funds back. As we work through the process, Public Works will continue to have to do drive-by reads for the older ones, as some of them will be changed out in every year. So we'll have kind of dual processes going on, but ultimately phasing out that drive-by need and then targeting that staff to reallocate their time toward maintaining infrastructure, either through our hydrant replacement program, valve exercising programs, or the new lead and copper laws that are coming down from the IEPA, et cetera. So before you today is this proposal, the first year of 3,000 units, at which point next year we'll be back before you again for approval, so this doesn't authorize all years going forward, just for the first year for 3,000 units. Does anybody have any questions?
Trustee O'Brien?
It's for future use, because if I understand, Orion's going to be waiving the hosting fee for the first couple of years, but after about 3 years, it'll be about $20,000 a month, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, and that's $1 per house.
Correct.
Maybe, I don't know if it's a board decision or not, maybe we'd be able to bill the $1 per house to the actual user.
Well, we need to be, at some point, the water rates, we had a 5-year plan on it, and it's over now.
Yeah, and
And Jawa's made some changes, so I think you guys are going to be talking about water rates, and this would be something.
yeah, I would think towards the end of the year, we'll be talking about water rates again, and that's something that's been tossed around by staff. We'll put a couple different options together, and then we can discuss it at the board level and decide how we want to move forward with that.
And we do get a lot of complaints, not a lot, but we get complaints from people that, I didn't know my toilet was running, and now I got this big bill, and then Pat's trying to work out a payment plan.
Yeah, I
for
mean,
them.
that's no fun when you get your water bill and it's doubled,
Yeah.
you know, and as Heather said, the time lag there, and then you have Public Works trying to collect the data, finance digging through it. And it's just not a pleasant process for the village or the resident on their side either. So as she had in her memo, they have some of these scattered about around town right now that they've been working with. I've been happy with it. Obviously, you know, this was presented back in 2019. Research was done before that, so this is a project that's been on our radar for a long time. And these Orion endpoints are dying out on us. We just had over
Yes.
175 for Orions that were down, that we were going out doing manual reads on, weren't able to do the drive-by. So this is kind of like the CAD 911 software. It's reaching the end of its life here pretty quick, and it's very important to our operations to be able to bill accurately.
Questions?
No question.
You know, it would be really cool with this when they're all in, is you could have contests for water reduction or water conservation, because people could see it on their phone, and, I mean, just think what a 5 or 10% reduction a month would do for the earth. I think this is cool. I'll remind
Yeah,
you. in
I'm gonna
2
have
years.
my girls, the kids get this app so they can keep track of how long they're in the shower and how much water. they
Oh,
use.
that's perfect for your
Right, I know it is.
teenagers. It was this before you got in the shower, and now it's this
Yeah.
when you get out.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one, too. All right, do I have a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry, question from trustee Thorstensen?
Thank you. Just one quick question then. Are you only looking at purchasing the 3,000 because of how to operationalize those? There's like a resource limit?
Yes, so we have, through our pilot program that we installed 50, we feel like we could tackle 500 a month. And so since we only want to be doing this during the non-snow months, that takes us from May through, I think, October, and we can get 3,000 in, we think.
Motion to approve.
Motion from trustee Garner, second from trustee Thorstensen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather, good job. Roll call, please, Andy?
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner. O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
All right, motion carries. Item number 7, approval of Engineering Division's recommendation to award the 2021 Street Maintenance Resurfacing Program to the low bidder, Payne and Dolan, at a cost of $1,674,908.75.
Sure. So you had a memo from our Assistant Village Engineer, Nick Leach, on this. Put our road program out for bid, received 3 bids back, ranging from $1.67 million to $1.87 million. Payne and Dolan was the low bidder. 2.3 miles of roadway in the program for this year. The engineer's estimate was just over 2 million, so it came in under what we were expecting. So we might be able to sneak a little additional mileage in there. We're going to be looking at that. A couple of the roadways to be resurfaced: Kilbourne, Vista, Revere Court, Middle Road, and then we've got the section of Manchester Drive in front of Fire Station 3, that a portion of that may be paid for by us. Looking at the pavement condition index, so the quality of the pavement. Last did this in 2019. The numbers as it relates to this year's program, 0% failed, 63% rated poor, 16% marginal, and 20% rated fair. So that was in 2019, so they've obviously only gotten worse from then. We've worked with Payne and Dolan in the past. Seems like almost every other year they have our program. So 2019, 17, 15, 14, and 11, they were our roadway contractor, and we're happy with the work that they conducted for us. So it's before you for consideration to get this lined up for the 2021 construction season.
Questions? Do I have a motion? Motion from trustee Garner,
Second.
second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please, Andy.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner. O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
All right, motion carries. Item number 8, approval of Engineering Division's recommendation to award the 2021 Waveland Avenue Water Main and Culvert Replacement Project to the low bidder, Campanella and Sons, at a cost of $313,734.38.
Sure. So you had a memo from our newest engineer, Danny Salgado, on this one. This was included in the budget, so this is water main along Waveland Avenue between University and Woodlawn, so south of Grand. This section of main is from the 60s, has significant break history. While they're in there working on the water main, there's also some storm sewer improvements and the replacement of the 2 existing culverts under Waveland that'll also take place. Went out to bid, received 6 bids back, ranged from $313,000 to $393,000. Campanella and Son was a little bidder. We've worked with them a ton. Always been happy with their work. They do a lot of water main work for Jawa as well. They're Jawa's on-call contractor when they have water main issues, so a solid company. So we're recommending that it be awarded to Campanella and Sons at the $313,734.38.
All right, questions for Pat?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please, Andy.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
6 aye.
All right. Motion carries. It's the end of new business. I'll reopen the floor to public comment. Disappointed.
Quick, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. I have a motion to adjourn from trustee Balmas, second by trustee Thorstensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.